5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hi.
Hi!
I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games, and welcome to GGG Live.
Welcome, Jonathan.
Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile: Keepers of the Flame, which is coming out 1 week from now on October the 31st. Twitch drops are enabled on
Są
the day of
dropy
the
tutaj.
live stream, so you'll be able to
Głośniej.
claim your Hiveborn crawler pet by following the instructions below.
Podgłaśniam.
Without further ado, let's roll the trailer for Path of Exile: Keepers of the Flame.
Podgłaśniam, spokojnie.
We, the keepers of the flame, serve the
Jeszcze?
will of the dreamer. His instructions whispered from beyond the wall of sleep. But now, the Hiveborn are here, on Rayclast, and they seek to poison our world.
Okej, jakaś wielka łapa. Jak klasyczny bridge,
We
tylko...
must close their breaches, destroy their hives, slay their breach lords.
Ej, tak jak mówiłem, łączą chyba bridge'a z Beyondem. Muzyka jak z Duma, no.
And by his gifts, the
Oh!
dreamer provides.
What? Nowe drzewko?
They brought this war to our world,
Mamy to!
but we shall end it, whatever it takes.
Genesis Tree. Nowe skille. Tak! 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 Nowe klasy! Na to czy... Tak dużo rzeczy z mojego bingo się sprawdziło. Nowe Ascendancy, złączony Bridge i Beyond. A miałem nosa, słuchajcie. Strasznie dużo moich predykcji się sprawdziło. Dobra. Pokażcie te nowe klasy!
As you can see, this expansion is a true sequel to the Breach League, first introduced to the game in 2016. We felt like it was time to progress the story of Breach, bringing with it a slew of new updates to the base game. In today's stream, we'll take you on a deep dive into
10
Path of Exile:
ascendancji
Keepers of the
nowych.
Flame, beginning with the League mechanic, covering all the fearsome challenges it presents, and the new twisted ways you'll be able to empower your character. After that, we'll dive into the new ascendancy options possible with Bloodline classes. Then we'll cover the much anticipated and synchronous trade system coming to Path of Exile 1. Afterwards, we'll move into the new Uber Pinnacle bosses, how to access them,
Uber bossy.
and some new drops worthy of the added difficulty. Finally, we'll cover some notable quality of life improvements before moving on to our supporter packs
Dobra,
and
pokaż te
challenge rewards.
klasy!
We'll then have a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile's game directors Mark and myself your questions from Twitch chat.
Dobra, jeszcze podgłośnie.
And after the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes at 11 a.m. New Zealand time or 3 p.m. Pacific. So let's get started. I'll hand things over to Mark to introduce the new league.
Witaj, Mark Roberts.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile. Breach is a beloved league that has had an iconic history in PoE.
No, Bridge ma z 10
We
lat
intend
już.
to honor that legacy with our first ever sequel league, Keepers of the Flame. This develops every aspect of Breach, adding new layers to discover, richer lore, scarier bosses, and entirely new mechanics. That said, this is still Breach, so you will still be opening breaches and slaying hordes of otherworldly monsters.
Kocham kręcić się w kółko.
Breach Lords have found the means to stabilize the connection between their realm and Rayclast. Now, with their grip tightening, we learn their true goal in our world, conquest. The threat they pose has now escalated to home soil. On the coast in Act 1, you'll encounter Aelith, the founder of the Keepers of the Flame.
Nowa
This is a
koleżanka.
monastic order sworn to defend Rayclast from the Breach Lords. The
Ty to
exit to
mnisi
the
z
Mudflats
PoE
has
2.
been barricaded by Hiveborn, Breach monsters that are working to claim every inch of Rayclast. Aelith can grant you a small spark of the power of the Flame, allowing you to blast away their barricade and move onwards. Once you enter the Mudflats, you'll find it infested with Breach monsters. They appear to be constructing a kind of hive, creating strange shapes and structures that absolutely don't belong. Time to purge them with fire.
Taki scorch trochę.
Aelith needs you to protect her as she empowers the flame to do so. Hold off the assault long enough, and she'll be able to demolish the hive with cleansing flame. In other areas, the gap between worlds is strained. Here, you'll find a more familiar encounter with a new twist. A massive breach hand sunders the space between dimensions, and touching it will open an unstable breach, causing monsters to flood in.
Density wygląda bardzo fajnie.
If you can slaughter them quickly enough, you can stabilize the breach.
Taki bardziej klasyczny breach.
This brazen action can draw the attention of Vroon, Marshal of Zesht, who will do everything it can to stop you. Defeating this boss will permanently seal the breach, severing another connection between the Breachlord's world and Wraeclast. These stabilized breaches are similar to what a breach once was, but with upgraded monsters, a success condition to shoot for, UI tracking to keep the player informed of their progress through the encounter, and satisfying feedback when you do manage to complete the encounter.
O, nowe rzeczy na
We've
podłodze.
taken all the lessons
Gifts.
we've learned since the release of Breach 9 years ago and improved upon it in every way we can. However, much of the joy of Breach came from its simplicity. While we want to modernize the mechanic, we don't want to undermine the core experience. You're still mostly just slaughtering hordes of enemies in a circle.
Czyli mówią, że
Finally,
mechanika dalej będzie
in
prosta.
endgame areas you might run into breach constructions that have been left unopposed for too long and have grown into their full twisted glory. Breach hives. Towering flesh-crafted cities in the sky. These are the visions of the Breach Lords made real in Wraeclast, teeming with breach monsters. You must raid and destroy these cities with the help of Aelith and her flame.
Breach depsy.
In some of these hives, you may even encounter some of the Breach Lords themselves,
I
who will
walicie się
not be happy you're intruding on their planned conquest.
na arenie Kseszta.
Now, let's talk loot. Of course, being an exile is hard work, and you're unlikely to help entirely out of the goodness of your heart. Fortunately, Aelith has power and rewards aplenty, born of the Breach Realm itself, to offer you for your assistance. Help her, and she'll bring you to the Monastery of the Keepers, the hallowed halls of her order. Here, you'll find the Genesis Tree, the growing heart of the Keeper's power.
Ty właśnie, co z tym drzewkiem?
On
Poka.
interacting with it, you'll find that this tree has a tree. That's right. It couldn't be Path of Exile unless the tree also had a tree. More importantly, the Genesis tree is an engine of unholy creation, and a profitable one. As you complete breach encounters and work more with Aelith, you'll be able to grow the Genesis tree larger and larger, sprouting additional limbs. Each of these limbs, you'll notice, has their own inventories.
What?
These can be used for an unusual method of crafting new items.
Nowy crafting.
With
Poka.
this system, you'll be able to grow currency, uniques, equipment, and a new kind of otherworldly item, grafts. Grafts are breach hands grown directly from the Genesis tree,
Ale
born
zajebiste.
of the same flesh and sinew as the invading monsters.
Nowy skin na ręce.
These fuse
Znaczy skin.
directly to your
Slot.
body in a completely safe process. Don't worry about it. With grafts, you can harness the power of the breach. Some provide passive benefits like this
Oho.
or this,
Dance in
but
the White.
they can also grant a wide selection of powerful skills.
Ciekawe, czy pokażą, co to za skille.
These graft skills can provide a flexible way to fill gaps in your build, offering everything from damage to potent defensive buffs and crowd control. For example, the Battering All graft will call massive arms to erupt from the earth, stunning all those they hit.
Masz skill Kseszta jako
For some
swój skill.
additional pack clearing power, you could consider the Squalling Tool Graft. When commanded, this graft will cast Dance in the White, creating a deadly ice tornado which aggressively seeks enemies and fires off bursts of ricocheting projectiles when you critically strike with skills. For some further utility and a useful buff, try out the Storming Esh Graft.
Causes damage to be
This can be
lucky.
commanded to call down a ring of bolts from the sky
Ale power
that will
creep.
leave behind the new radiant ground. Radiant Ground grants a potent damage buff to allies standing within it and makes their hit damage lucky. If you're simply after raw damage, look no further than the Erupting Zothgraft, which causes massive eruptions of fire where you command, which then re-erupt when you Warcry. There are a total of 16 different graft types you can grow,
16
each with
nowych,
their own
powiedział.
skill.
16
You
nowych
can
skilli.
even unlock a second graft slot as you progress through Aelith's questline, so feel free to mix and match Fleshstone horrors to your heart's content. Now, grafts aren't just here to make you stronger, they are also your means of feeding the Genesis tree, which needs constant supplies of graft blood to grow anything useful. You can do this by defeating breach monsters, which will leave behind blood that your graft will automatically collect. When you feed this blood to the tree, your allocated passives will be put to work.
Ciekawe, czy
This
można mieć
section of the
wszystko.
Genesis tree can be used to grow new grafts for you, which the Genesis tree will then birth in a gruesome display.
Aha!
Basic passives on the tree might increase item rarity of birthed grafts, or the chance to birth additional grafts.
Czyli zamiast crafting jest grafting.
These passives can target specific types of grafts, and this passive causes grafts to be birthed with a random amount of quality.
To śmieszne
Quality
całkiem.
improves the amount of blood that can be stored by your grafts. This section of the Genesis tree births currency items. Basic passives can result in more or better currency.
Normalnie zło na
Allocate this
karencji
passive
wyciągam
to
orby.
sometimes cause a shower of currency to burst forth from the flesh of the tree. Yeah, it's a bit gross, but working with the organic matter of a bunch of dead otherworldly creatures was never going to be a clean
Nowe
affair.
karencje, nie wiem czy widzieliście. Unstable Implant.
Grafts themselves are born of a different world,
Jakiś-
so are unmodifiable by most currencies.
Nowe
However,
karencji.
with this passive, the Genesis tree can occasionally grow fleshy mockeries of currency orbs. These function like augmentation orbs, regal orbs, or exalted orbs, but they work on your grafts instead of normal gear.
Aha!
Yep, it's graft crafting.
Czyli normalne orby, ale
Allocating
typowo
this
dla
passive can result in foulborn currencies.
tych nowych itemów.
This foulborn exalted orb, for instance, behaves as a normal exalted orb, except it guarantees a higher tier modifier.
O!
By locking out a large portion of the lower rolls, a normal exalted orb would be able to hit.
Czyli coś w stylu tierowanych
The
exaltów
largest
z
section of the
P2.
Genesis tree is used to grow rare equipment items. For these, you have a lot of agency to influence the type and modifiers on your grown item. For example, you can specifically target boots with a dexterity requirement, with an increased chance for speed modifiers, and reduced chance for cold modifiers. Or maybe you'd prefer to look for a two-handed axe with increased chance for physical modifiers.
To bardzo mi przypomina
This section of the tree is for growing unique
te
items.
trumny.
Similar to the
Tylko
equipment
prostsze.
section, there are passives that let you target growing specific types of uniques or rarer uniques. The process of growth is not always a perfect one, however, and can result in some defects.
Defekty, poka.
This passive can result in birthed uniques becoming foulborn, which mutates one of the existing modifiers on the item into a new one,
What?
resulting in some interesting new ways to use that unique.
Zmodyfikowane
For
unikaty.
example, this foulborn quill rain no longer has increased projectile speed, but instead has increased area of effect.
Dobra, to będą tak broken
Another
itemy
foulborn
niektóre.
quill rain could replace the mana gained on hit
Przecież
with
to-
the much more powerful modifier where insufficient mana doesn't prevent your bow attacks.
Wyobraźcie sobie, że usuwa less damage na
Here
Quill
are some
Rainie
other
przykładowo.
examples. This passive even gives a rare chance for foulborn uniques to have multiple different modifiers mutated. I'm sure you'll come up with some extremely powerful uses for these.
To będzie tak
We'll
broken.
leave it up to you to discover what this mysterious part of the Genesis tree can grow.
To będzie taka gamba.
So, ultimately, you'll be slaying masses of breach monsters, harvesting blood with the aid of your grafts, feeding that to the Genesis tree, growing some items and better grafts, and back again to the slaughter. As with all our challenge leagues, this league will come with a set of 40 challenges to pursue, and completing them will award you with the Keeper of the Flame armor set, allowing you to truly embrace becoming a monk and worshipping the Dreamer. Now, graft skills won't be the only new tools to play with. In 327, we're also adding a collection of new skill and support gems. Let's go over them now.
Nowe skillki.
Kinetic Rain is a new wand attack, which covers the ground in unstable kinetic energy.
No, bitrate wariuje.
These hazards collapse at the slightest touch,
A co to zostaje na
releasing their
podłodze?
energies into any unfortunate soul who happens to be standing on them. With enough projectiles and area of effect, an enterprising exile could carpet the world in dangerous kinetic force.
Ciekawe, czy możesz shotgunować, overlapować
Wall of
damage.
Force creates a barrier of kinetic power, causing allied projectiles to ricochet towards targets automatically. Drop one behind a boss and redirect the bolts of your armies. I'm sure you'll find ways to break this one. Conflagration is a new bow attack which rains down fiery bolts from above that stick into the ground and pulse as you approach. Once you get close enough, these bolts detonate, causing ravaging ignites. These bolts chain react, allowing you to create fields of incendiary destruction.
Wygląda na git, ale ten lightningowy mi się najbardziej podoba na
Thunderstorm
razie.
is a bow attack, which creates a whirling storm
Oh!
of wind and lightning where it lands. While you're within the storm, it will rapidly grow.
To wygląda
until
zajebiście
it
na
becomes
clear.
violently thunderous with lightning-infused clouds.
Fajne, jak
At this
Twister
point,
w SPE 2 trochę.
leaving the storm will cause it to detonate, dealing
Bitrate.
damage to everything within and releasing a flurry of tornadoes in all
Dla
directions.
takiego breacha, taki spark bołowy trochę, no.
Attacking with kinetic fusillade will create hovering orbs of energy. These linger for a few moments above you before zipping off to nearby targets.
A to jest dosłownie
chaining
Fusillade z
between
dwójki.
them, then detonating. Living Lightning support will bring to life living sparks of energy, elemental minions that zap through packs of enemies with speed and ease. Use these alongside your spellcasting to augment your pack clearing abilities, or find whatever means possible to cover the world in living sparks of ruin.
To też z dwójki przeniesiony. No i spoko.
Windburst support unleashes chaotic tornadoes as you attack, which ricochet around wildly and quickly. These deal moderate damage as they travel, but will explode into a highly damaging burst when they expire.
Czekaj, dobrze, to jest
So
rework
it's a
Tornado
choice
Shota?
between scaling their duration up to get better coverage,
Chyba tak.
or down to access the burst more quickly. Kinetic Instability is a support gem to go along with the new wand attacks that causes enemies slain to leave behind those same orbs of shimmering energy that Kinetic Rain creates. One might ponder just how many orbs you can create if you were to use both. In 327, exiles will be
Na to
able to
czekałem.
absorb the power of some of the bosses they defeat.
10 klas nowych jakichś.
These take the form of new Ascendancy class options, called Bloodlines. Bloodline classes are a new means of character customization in the endgame. They are secondary Ascendancy classes that are unlocked by defeating specific endgame bosses.
O!
They are allocated with your normal
dopiero
Ascendancy
na
points,
endgame.
and you'll have to choose how many of your points go into the original Ascendancy and how many into your Bloodline class. This means there is a nigh limitless ability to mix and match here, as you could choose to invest just a couple points into your Bloodline, or max it out, and you could take any Bloodline with any base Ascendancy class that you see fit.
Ciekawe.
To unlock your Bloodline, hunt down the endgame boss whose power you desire, and defeat them. Or have a friend help, and claim the power for your own.
Pokaż trochę.
There are 10 Bloodline classes to discover. Bosses who offer this power are typically associated with past leagues,
Czyli za
giving
aula będzie na
additional reasons
przykład
to engage with that league
w Delwie.
content. Let's run over a few examples. The Chaos Bloodline will be offered to you by the Trial Master, if you manage to succeed his final challenge. With his blessing, you can greatly augment your Val skills in different ways. Priest of Yalmak lets you use Val skills much more often, while Priest of Kopek makes it harder to build up Val skills, but makes them far more powerful. Or take Corruption's Embrace, which grants more Val Keystone powers the more corrupted items you have equipped.
Full corrupted
The
build.
Ashabi bloodline can be gained by, you guessed it, defeating Ashabi. Her abilities are drawn from the 3 types of life force that manifest within as Marian spirits. The Wild Bear rewards you with adrenaline for generating rage.
Berserker.
The Vivid Cat gives your elusive buffs a chance to refresh, as well as making you more stealthy while elusive. The Primal Owl allows your unleashed spells to reoccur many additional times, and get stronger for each time they reoccur. The Nameless bloodline comes from the King in the Mists. Be forewarned, his menacing power comes at a great cost.
O, te pewnie z
With the
downside'em
unseen
będą.
hand, you can equip a third
Ale
ring,
jaja.
but you'll have to
A, ty
decide if that comes
potężne.
at the expense of having no amulet, no belt,
Aha!
or no flasks.
Okej, dobra,
Unlight
popieprzone.
Silhouette adds a hefty life cost to all your spells,
To downside jest ogromny.
but they deal additional chaos damage based on the amount of life spent. Of course, there is more to come. What powers might you glean from delving deep underneath Rayclass to fight all the Crystal King? What secrets can you learn from Lycia, Herald of the Scourge, waiting at the end of the Forbidden Sanctum? As you can imagine, there are countless possible combinations with the system. You could be a Slayer that embraces corruption and vile power, or perhaps you'll play an occultist that doubles down on their dark power
Widać jakieś
by
nowe
integrating
itemy?
the Nameless Bloodline.
Chyba nie.
We are excited to see what crazy and interesting builds players come up with. In the most recent Path of Exile 2 expansion, the Third Edict, we introduced a much anticipated feature, fully asynchronous trade. It was a fantastic success.
Chyba się
So
spodziewaliśmy.
now we're excited to announce that we'll also be adding this feature into Path of Exile 1.
Czyli
When
usprawnienia
you reach
handlu.
Act 6, you'll be able to find Faustus in Lion Eye's watch. Previously, he just operated the currency exchange. Now, he will also act as a steward for your merchants tabs. These are where you can place items for sale, for direct and instant purchase
No
by
dobry
other
jest ten
players, even
system.
when you're not online.
Dużo
To
mniej
list an
pitolenia się z
item,
ludźmi.
simply place it in the tab and select a currency and an amount.
Ale tanio, Nimis. Czyżby sugestia, że znerfione? Nie widziałem, czy był
Once
podświetlony.
listed, other players will be able to find the item by searching for it via the trade website
Nie,
or
chyba
the
nie.
new in-game market search. To purchase something for yourself, it's as easy as hitting this button, which will teleport you to the seller's hideout, where you can view their merchants tabs, buy the item, and also view the rest of their wares in case something else catches your eye. Every purchase costs a small fee of gold, as Faustus takes his cut. To account for this further drain on gold, acquisition and cost balance elsewhere in the game has been adjusted. Anything you've managed to sell successfully will have your profits collected here, in a separate tab to claim at your leisure. To be clear, previous means of trading, such as via pre-existing premium stash tabs and the website, will still function just as before.
Czy można handlować tak?
Merchants tabs
Stary i nowy
and the
sposób.
asynchronous trading that comes with them are an entirely additive feature on top of the already existing methods to trade. You might find yourself needing the trade system to buy some upgrades.
Czyżby
because
inkarnacje?
this update also introduces 3 new Uber Pinnacle boss fights.
Incarnations pewnie, nie?
These encounters are manifested from the memories of Zana, and in her long torment, they have festered into something truly deadly.
Pokaż co robią.
These fights offer an imposing challenge, alongside powerful rewards. In order to gain access, similar to existing Uber Pinnacle fights, you'll need to discover fragments dropped by Tier 17 map bosses. Each attempt at the new Uber Pinnacle
Nie!
fights will require 5 of these.
Usuńcie tier
Let's dig into
17!
some of the challenges you'll need to face in these new Uber versions.
Taka
In the
łyżka
original
dziegciu
incarnation of
w słodkim
Neglect
miodziku.
fight, the statues can be used to block the laser beams to hide behind, giving you an opportunity to avoid being shocked, frozen, or killed. When you run near these statues, they activate and allow you to reposition them. While activated, they will not stop the lasers, meaning you want to position them well, then avoid them. However, in the Uber version of this fight, instead of being a safe haven, the statues will refract the laser beams, causing a ruckus of energy to cover the arena. Activating them will prevent the refraction, so unlike the base fight, where you want to position them well and then avoid them, you'll be wanting to
ale
constantly
dostał
keep these
bombę.
statues active. But then, you have to deal with their assault of attacks. While fighting the incarnation of fear, these fiery orbs will slowly clutter up the arena, locking off portions of it until you bait the boss into detonating them himself with his thrown spear. When Uberified, these orbs are attached by a flaming leash to the boss, rotating around him constantly. More and more will spawn as the fight goes on, making it even more imperative that you clean them up by cleverly using the boss's abilities against him.
Możesz dwie naraz, okej.
Normally in the Incarnation of Dread fight, during the bullet hell phase, you have to acquire a red rose, run it to the boss, then collect a blue rose, doing the same.
Na tego bossa to
causing it to get
CI
heavy
będzie
stun
trzeba.
and interrupting its mechanic. In the Uber version, you have to do the same. But in order to get the blue rose, you have to defeat the Incarnation of Neglect. And to get the red rose, you have to defeat the Incarnation of Fear. Good luck.
Czekaj, co? W trakcie fazy
Given the
bullet
difficulty of
hellowej?
these bosses, their reward should be worth your while. Let's take a look at some. From
Good
the
luck.
Uber Incarnation of Neglect fight, we have Bitter Instinct, a spiky shield that turns retaliatory strikes into preemptive ones, making it just a matter of time before the long arm of justice crushes your foes.
A to ciekawe, nie musisz blokować, żeby używać retaliation skilli.
Alternatively, you might find Festering Resentment, a poisoned blade with an unending supply of toxins built into the hilt. These toxins are put to good use, causing every spell you trigger to be capable of poisoning with all
To
damage
na
it deals,
pewno będzie
enabling
grane.
a truly crazy trigger-centric poison ruckus.
Wszystkim poisonujesz.
And from the Uber Incarnation of Dread, the Hallowed Monarch, a counterpart to the Dark Monarch, which focuses more heavily on investing into one or a few minions, rather than growing your hordes to massive
Ty,
proportions.
z Reaperem to by było śmieszne.
Storm Rayclast, with your chosen few at your side,
Headhunter
stealing
dla
power
twojego
from your
Reapera.
enemies as you go. We've got a number of quality of life changes to bring to 327 as well. Many of which you may have seen already in some of our pre-livestream teasers, but for those who haven't, Heist is a mechanic which has long frustrated some players who may otherwise have been interested in the
To są
rewards it
quality
has
of
to
life
offer,
zmiany, które już
but have
widzieliśmy.
no desire to grind
Ale powiem
through
wam,
the
co mi
early
chodziło bardzo po głowie, jak pokazywali te nowe klasy.
contracts
Mamy
to
obecnie
evolve
w
the road
PoE
to the
buildy,
maximum level.
które no,
Well,
bywały silne przez lata, pomimo tego, że ze swojej ascendancji praktycznie miały martwy punkt. Że tak na dobrą sprawę tylko 3 wybory były jakieś tam znaczące w ich ascendancjach. I wydaje mi się, że te buildy dostaną bardzo dużego buffa przez te Bloodline klasy. To są generalnie rzeczy, które już pokazywali, nie? Takie jak właśnie refundowanie punktów na Atlasie za golda, uproszczony heist.
Which of course can now also be done with your regular passive tree as well. Now you can make all your decisions with no regrets. Well, maybe some regrets. You no longer need to purchase bestiary orbs. You can now itemize beasts for free directly from your bestiary. From late Act 1, you can now mass identify your items at an NPC in every town. And from Helena in your hideout.
Co będzie uproszczone w hejście, nie będziesz musiał levelować ludków od hejsta, od razu będą zlevelowani.
While using an Alteration Orb, you can now hold Alt to swap to using an Augmentation Orb, if one is available. Opening a Blight Chest will now open all other Blight Chests near it. Rogue's Disenchanting Services can now be accessed from towns and hideouts. Kerak missions now have a handy icon to show at a glance what kind of mission they are. Holding down Control and right-clicking on stacked decks will now continuously open them to your inventory, notifying you in chat what the outcome is.
Jak ktoś gra na
If
przykład
you still
Legiony,
want to
to się
open them
bardzo
direct
cieszy.
to the ground, to let your loot filter provide a dose of dopamine, you can still do that too by also holding Shift. Val Orbs can be used on monsters encased in essences, to the same effect that Remnants of Corruption have. When multiple skill gems are ready to level at the same time, you'll now be able to click this button to level them all up at once.
Levelowanie wszystkich gemów jest super. Jak masz na
Next up,
przykład
we're going to be talking about our new League supporter
Maloni
packs.
Quiver w endgame'ie.
Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs.
Skiny! Wow!
The Champion of Theopolis and the Verdant Magus packs.
Okej,
Each
animacja
tier
level upa.
contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these
Boże.
packs are purely cosmetic and do not
Ten mi
affect
się
your
nie
character's
podoba.
power or progression in any way. The Champion of Theopolis series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive
Czemu on dyma
microtransactions.
byka?
Manifest a champion's ferocity, as the Lion's Might unique finisher effect rips your enemies to shreds. Open the Champion of Theopolis portal to end your crusade through maps in the style expected of a true victor of the arena. Defeat your enemies like a true gladiator, wearing the
Skinek
Grand
spoko.
Champion of Theopolis armor set.
Ja to lubię takie
The armor
prostsze skiny.
awarded only to the most elite warriors of the Grand
No
Arena.
jest taki okej. Wolę te skiny bez jakichś
Take
skrzydeł na
charge
pół
of the
ekranu.
situation and storm into combat with the Flaming Minotaur's Quicksilver Flask effect.
The Champion's Podium map device rises up to honor the glory you've achieved as you activate it.
Ascend the stairs and stand atop the platform as you enter your maps. Each flame surrounding the platform represents a remaining use
Map
on your
device to
portal.
jest spoko.
The burden-back billy goat carries all the supplies necessary for a campsite as he travels behind you in battle.
Czekaj, co?
When placed in a hideout, instead of roaming around like your other pets, their supplies are deployed, creating a small camp where you can access your
Aha!
stash and providing a place to take a load off while you rest next to the campfire.
To jest jednocześnie skin do peta.
The Verdant
skin do
Magus
Stasza
series
naraz.
contains 6
Tak
exclusive
jakby.
microtransactions.
A to śmieszne całkiem.
Having
Gocik.
Faustus sell your items on your behalf is great and all, but sometimes you just want to feel a little bit more shady about your dealings. The Back Alley Trader hideout decoration is more secretive with your trades, creating distance between you and your customers. Note
Dobra.
that until 327 is released, this Back Alley Trader will only serve as your currency
A
exchange.
to na trade'a
Once
fajne.
it's out, it will be updated to have the new managed shop
Skin
option
do
to also
sklepiku.
facilitate your trades. The Verdant Wayfinder pet is a loyal companion to any Master Magus. As you approach waypoints, it envelops them with its vines, guiding you throughout Rayclast.
Okej.
Control Earth and nature itself, as the Great Verdant Magus armor set envelops you in the ancient
Kapelusz
power
fajny.
now lost to time. There's also a matching back
Ej,
attachment
ładny ten
included.
skin. Dobra, ten skin zajebisty. Ja lubię takie łachmaniarz taki.
Remnants of the forest ripple out from within you with the Verdant Magus level up effect equipped, restoring life to the corrupted land. Call on an ancient golem to use their power to create a safe passage for you to retreat through with the Arcane Golem portal.
Portal też raczej na plus.
As a Supreme Verdant
Oh.
Magus, you can travel to your Arcane Isle hideout. A cluster of islands held together by ancient magic passed down between elite mages.
Dobra, hideoucik wygląda zajebiście.
Stand atop your tower and relish the great heights you've reached above those who have not harnessed the
Oh.
arcane.
Dobra.
These
Mój
packs are
nowy
now
hideout.
available for purchase on both PC and console and will remain so during Path of Exile, Keepers of the Flame.
Mam wrażenie, że supporter paki dużo lepsze niż ostatnio.
Any microtransactions from these supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 2. Meanwhile, the Crypt Keeper and Frisian Magistrate packs leave the store forever at the launch of the Keepers of the Flame League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you so much for your ongoing support.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post the full patch notes for Path of Exile, Keepers of the Flame.
Okej, patch
at
notesy
11
będą.
a.m. New Zealand time, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Powiedział, że będą patch
With
notesy.
release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. Thanks for joining us today
Thank you.
and checking out our latest developments.
Thank you, thank
We're
you.
looking forward to holding off the Breach Lord's conquest, crafting gruesome grafts, planning dozens of Bloodline-empowered builds, and filling out our tree's tree. We hope you all join us.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Roberciński. Dobra. Pierwsza kwestia, moi drodzy. Jak wrażenia? Bo powiem szczerze, mechanika ligowa, nowy ten grafting, te nowe Bloodlines asenancje, nowe skille, wygląda dużo lepiej niż się spodziewałem. Naprawdę. Ja rozmawiałem o tym wcześniej z wami, mówiłem, że u mnie hype tak, nie wiem, 6 na 10 był. Teraz taka dziewiąteczka luźno. A widzę, że u was podobnie. Że bardzo się podniosła wasza opinia przed revealem, po revealu. No.